And then the last group is on. You're with the last group. The last but not least. I was going to say that, but you can do so. Okay, good luck. Group E, that is, I think. Yeah. Group F. Sorry, Group F. This was Group E, your Group F. Important for the voting. Shall I say a few words in the meantime then? Then you, if you want to Twitter, like they are doing now, use the hashtag LFEC. LFEC. Would be nice to have a trending topic tonight in the World Rider. And then, before I forget, after the last but not least presentation, you can still put your stickers and ideas on the action tree. It's still over there. Yes, are we ready? Group F?
Yep.
Good luck.
Okay. During the opening pitches for this program, each one of us had only 1 minute to describe the problems we think the world faces today. And as the seconds ticked by, because we only had 1 minute, the list became longer and longer. So we heard about pollution, we heard about mountains of waste, we heard about scarcity of food, scarcity of water. And by the end of that day, we were all pretty ready for some serious change. Little did we know back then, we would first have to listen to Herman Wijffels talk about the carrying capacity, Rens from Tilburg talk about financial derivatives, and this morning we heard Paul Gilding talk about how the next generation will not be able to fulfill their needs. So by the end of this program, we looked more like this, actually. What to do? So without undermining the problems, because they are really urgent and they are very important, we think it's about time we step away from the what and we move towards the how. All of us sitting here want a cleaner, fairer, and more sustainable world. I see lots of people nodding their heads ferociously. But we think we should adopt a pragmatic approach. So no old economy, no new economy. We want a real economy that we can do something with. Because change happens all the time. The economy has changed, it's changing right now, and it will continue to change. And our role is to channel that change into the right direction. Or in the language of this program, what we've learned, is we have to find the right wave of norms and values and do our part in making it dominant.
So to do so, we try to find a common ground between the 5 of us. An environmentalist, a philosopher, an economist, and a lawyer. Isn't that right, Leila? And what we came at was the most basic element of human interaction found in the smallest tribes and the biggest civilizations. Exactly, rituals. Not the candles, wanna learn our dance kind of rituals, but the things that we have gone all through. Funerals, marriage, birthdays, baptism, but also the small things. High fives, a stadium cheering after a goal, or an applause after a presentation. So the ritual economy, we see the ritual economy as economic behavior in terms of social practices. And that does not mean that we see all economic situations as rituals, or each ritual as economic behavior. But where these two overlap, we see a site for change.
So let me show you an example of what we mean. Ritual economy put into practice. Before, Stefan mentioned birthdays. So what's the best thing about birthdays? Gifts. Yes. So think about your best gift, the most beautiful gift you ever got. In my case, it was an old violin that my mother gave me, and actually someone was asked to establish the economic value of the violin, and they said, well, you might as well put it in your fireplace and make a nice fire out of this, because it's just a piece of wood. But for me, it meant a lot. It meant her move from the Soviet Union to Europe. It meant her history, her parents, a long tradition of struggle. So 10 years on, what we remember about gifts is the message behind it, its symbolic value, basically, and how it made us feel at that time. So if now you think of the last 5 gifts you've gotten, quickly scan your memory, how many of those actually meant something? How many of those actually had a real message to them? Probably not that many, 1, 2 at the most. And that's because we've become used to give gifts and show our affection or our appreciation of someone in terms of price. So the more we love someone, the more expensive the gift should be. And if it's really small, we don't really think they're that great. So this is a very small example, but if you look at it in terms of much larger issues like overconsumption, for example, you can see that this kind of behavior could lie at the root of overconsumption, which is consuming ever more and ever more, but a kind of mindless consuming without a message, without an intention behind it. So what about we invent a new ritual, since we're speaking of rituals? With every single gift, you have to think of a story that accompanies that gift. If you don't have a story, you don't give the gift. Soon after the second time or the third time, when you buy that gift, you're already thinking about the story that you're going to tell with it. And maybe at some point you'll think, you know what, I don't even need a gift with my story. I'll just tell the story, or I'll buy a small gift or a more sustainable gift. So eventually, on a large scale, we could move towards an economy that focuses on informational goods with a high communicative value instead of just commodities that are meaningless.
Okay, let's look at a second example. Since we're in a bank, we're going to talk about mortgages. And without the glasses of a ritual economy, what we see is that it's just a transfer from the bank, a transfer of money from the bank to a person. But if we take our ritual spectacles, and I don't have them with me, it is not just a transfer of money, but it's the opportunity that you give somebody to start a family by buying a house. This means that there is a strong personal dimension in this transaction, not just money. But now, this personal dimension seems to be gone. It's a purely materialistic transaction, and that doesn't work. Now in the US, half of the US does risk losing their homes. So we've gone from an economic system from full of social interaction to an economic system that's only about economic gains. So the question is, how do we bring back the social dimension back into these economic rituals?
And it's a question, we would love to hear all of your answers, because we don't have all of the answers. Our point was to ask the right questions and get the right conversation going, the right dialogue. And what we hope to have done with this presentation and with our paper is give you a different kind of lens to approach economic behavior with, or economic situations. And it's what we call the glasses of ritual economy.
So we looked at gift exchange and mortgages, and we've defined them as economic rituals. And what we've seen, it's not just an economic transaction with moving a product or a service from one setting to another, but that there is a strong social dimension in each of these transactions. And that these needs to be strengthened so that the system and the relationships become more durable and more sustainable.
So let go of your old rituals, if you want to, keep them if you don't. Think of some new rituals, but always ask yourself, where is the social dimension in these transactions or in what I'm doing, and how can they be strengthened to create a more sustainable world? And to remind you of this, since you'll probably forget after a couple of hours, we have a little gift for you ourselves. It's right next to your chair or on the floor by now. Growing paper. And they're supposed to trigger your memory in case of if you ever have a weak moment at a store or something like that. You can write a nice message on it if you want and give it to your neighbor or keep it. Or grow it and see what grows out of it. And I would like to invite Leila and Andrea to the stage because they're part of our vision group. Thank you.
Okay. Some questions about the program. Thank you very much. This presentation was a gift. I was going to say. Really, well done. And well done to you all. So big applause for yourself.